I'm not claiming to be the worldwide authority or expert by any means on how to ride a motorcycle. I'm actually a newer rider. I've only been riding for just over a year and a half, maybe. So I have enough time and experience to know what I'm talking about. This is my little rascal. I left the Honda inside the garage. I thought I'd show you guys this because, frankly, some of the parts are very similar to just about every other motorcycle. So I don't know how much detail I'm going to go into, but I do want to say, before I started getting into riding a year and a half ago, I knew very little about motorcycles. All I was told is that they were dangerous and they were really fast. And that is not entirely accurate. For example, this is classified as a motorcycle, and it is definitely not really fast. Dangerous is a very objective definition when it comes to motorcycles. I don't know how much dangerous they are than certain other things too. Everything has risks, and I'm all about mitigating risks. So I'll start off by saying, if you are a rider, even if you're a seasoned rider, you cannot predict other people. And so be defensive and be very alert. Watch out for traffic and do everything you can to make sure that you're riding defensively. So on this motorcycle, like most, you're going to have, this is a foot brake. Your right foot controls the brake. And this brake, think of right stands for rear. The right brake controls the rear brake. The front brake is actually on the same side, right here, and this controls your front. Most motorcycles are tuned so that 70 to 80% of your stopping power is up front, and only 20 to maybe 25% is in the back. Some sport bikes are even less. This is your clutch, unless you have a scooter or one of those rare motorcycles that has like a CVT or an automatic transmission. This is your clutch. This is how you're going to shift. So when you hold this clutch in, that's when you can shift. And that's your shifter down here. The shifting gears, most motorcycles, it's 1 down, then neutral, then up, 2, 3, 4, and in some cases 5, 6 gears. So it takes a little while to get used to that you actually have to shift down to get into first. A half click up will put you into neutral. And thankfully this bike, it's kind of hard to find neutral, which I like because I've ridden other bikes. My ZZR, it was very easy to get into neutral. So you'd be shifting between 1 and 2, and you would notice you're not going anywhere, and you'd hear the exhaust get really loud, and you'd realize it's because you went into neutral. So 1, then bypass neutral, then 2, 3, and 4. And the way that this bike is geared, it only has a top speed of like 65 to 70. So I'm having to shift a lot more with this than I would obviously on a cruiser or a sport bike that had taller gears. So it's very important to know that those are the main components of riding. Other controls that I'll go over here, and I've moved the camera down. You've got your headlight switch, and it's always going to be on. Most bikes that I know have a setting where it's always on. Here is your shifter to left to right, and then you press in to cancel, and here's your horn. This is your kill switch. It's always usually going to be red, and this kills the bike. So if you want to know, well, how do I turn off my bike? Do I shut the key off? This will kill the bike. Okay? This is the starter button. This bike, like many other bikes for the headlight, has a pass, which actually turns the brights on. And then this bike actually has a lever to actually turn your headlight off if you want to. I wouldn't recommend that. It's very important to be seen even during the daytime. So if at all possible, keep your headlight on. Before you ride, you want to check the following, and this is from the motorcycle safety class that I took, and you have to take a test on it. But you want to check your fluid levels. You want to check your oil, your brakes, your tires. You want to make sure your chain looks good. And that's just a visual check. You can check your oil. Most bikes you can check your oil fluid level. There's usually a see-through indicator. You can put your bike up. This one doesn't have that. So I actually have to unscrew that and check the dipstick. But a lot of bikes will have a fluid level. Before you go, and this is very important as well, you want to make sure your mirrors are set. It's amazing. I park my bike in my garage, and I don't know, nobody really touches it, yet my mirrors always seem to somehow magically move. So you always want to adjust and make sure that you can see. These are not stock Rascal mirrors, by the way. I took those off. They were ones that screwed up here, and because they were here and they were more like in this position, I could not see. They were not wide enough for me. So I like these bar end mirrors. I have a video that shows how I installed them. And that way, as you can see, hopefully the camera's picking that up, you can see very, very well on these mirrors. Okay, so when it's time to actually start, it's pretty simple. You just turn your key to the ignition start position. This bike has a gear indicator. For some reason I was in third gear when I shut it off. I'm not sure why. So I'm going to unkill it. And because I'm in third gear, I'm going to actually have to hold in my clutch to start it. Otherwise, it would just die on me. So I'm looking at my gear lever, and you'll see I'm going to hit it down. There it goes to second gear. There it goes into neutral, and there's 1. So I'm back into neutral, and so since I'm in neutral, I can actually let off the clutch. And you always want to make sure your kickstand is down. That's funny when people don't realize their kickstand isn't down. Most big bikes are so heavy that if your kickstand's not down and you get off, it's going to tip and you can't really catch it because they weigh, 300, 400, 500 pounds. Some of them weigh considerably more than that. This thing is only a couple hundred pounds, so it's not very hard to manage or handle. That's one of the appeals of the Rascal. So for those of you who are complete noobs, this is the exhaust. It gets very, very hot unless you have a carbon fiber cover like I had on my ZZR. Do not touch that. If you wear shorts, if you don't wear jeans, and you have a passenger on the back, do not touch that. It will melt your skin. It is that hot. Okay, other than that, you've got your brake lights. Most bikes nowadays have LED brake lights. So I'm going to show you, this is a signal. That's what the signal on the back looks like. And then facing forward, that's what the signal looks like. And to cancel the signal, you just again press in. Okay, so riding this thing is not hard. This actually does not have, though, the greatest of friction zones. And a friction zone is, if you've ever driven a manual car, a friction zone is where you are able to get forward movement while still holding the clutch in. So another important thing that I just remembered, most bikes have a built-in kill switch that if you don't have your clutch in and you're in gear and you put your kickstand up, it's going to kill the bike. Now since I'm in neutral, I don't have to worry about that, but if I was in gear, it would kill the bike by putting your kickstand down. That's why when you watch videos of like Fooligan and the Ground Squad or the Mini Moto Squad, they like to kill each other's bikes when they're sitting at lights because they get bored. You'll see two ways of doing that. One is the infamous, hitting this down, which will kill it. Okay, that killed my bike. Two is putting a kickstand down, which will also kill a bike. So to get moving on this, it's very important. Your feet are flat, your bike's level. Press in the clutch and go down into first gear. Now if you hit your throttle, nothing happens because your clutch is in. So think about it this way. If you ever get into trouble when you're starting to ride a bike and you, in your mind, something goes, oh no, or oh crap.
Oh crap.
This is the oh no, oh crap handle. If that ever goes through your mind, pull this in because this cuts power to the entire bike. If you get panicked as a new rider, one of the first instincts, I don't know why, is to rail on this throttle. And that's why you see bikes go taking off and popping wheelies and someone falling off on them. You need to pull this in, and this will disengage all power. So getting back to the friction zone, if I let off the clutch too much, I'm going to kill the bike. So I need to give it a little bit of gas, and here's your friction zone. Did you see that? So if you're starting to ride a bike, you want to practice rolling on this throttle, pulling back on it just a little bit. You'll see my RPMs go up, and you're going to see me let off with my left hand. And if you feel that it's kind of choking, pull the throttle back in. Okay? So that was about perfect for a start because I was definitely moving forward. Again, here's me going to take off. Okay, so that was your typical takeoff. Now my throttle's back in. Okay, now this is kind of going up a hill. Even though it's not much of a hill, it's definitely an incline. Now this is where if you're on a sport bike and you're shorter and you can barely tippy-toe, it gets a little bit more intimidating. But this rascal's easy. I can sit down on it. I can flat-foot it. So on a hill, again, same concept. Give it some gas, and it moves forward. Another concept to be aware of with a motorcycle, you cannot turn these like you can a car, okay? The wheel does not go around multiple times. It's just here to here. That's where leaning comes in. So if you try, and that's for a reason, because you can't turn your wheel too much or you will actually flip over. Sport bikes are even less. I mean, they're like, some of them are like here to here. So it's all about leaning and angles and turning. Because if you lean and you go, you're going to turn a lot more. So the best advice that I can give to any new rider, if you have a motorcycle to practice on, you're just learning, is go into a parking lot and practice your friction zone. And practice it and practice it. Get to the point where you're super comfortable in first gear, giving it some gas, and letting off. And see, this brake here, I can hit, and it's like instant stop. So much bite down power, especially on a little bike like this. So after you've practiced going straight, because that's what we did in the motorcycle safety course, we just practiced going forward and back. We didn't even shift. And we did that probably for a half hour, where you're literally on it, and you're practicing this. My feet aren't even on the pegs right now. Okay? So then we would stop, we'd come back to a line, and then he would say, okay, go. And you would start again. Now that was a lot more gas than I needed to give it, but it got the job done. So the next thing is shifting. Shifting is not any different. Okay? I'm now in neutral because, frankly, my hand was getting a little tired of holding the clutch in that much. Okay, so I'm going to shift between 1 and 2. I'm going to go into 1 by pressing down, and then 2, when I press my clutch in, I'm going to pull up on the shifter. Okay? So this will be hard because the camera's on the right side. Okay, so I'm in first gear. And there we shifted into second. If I want to get the RPMs up and shift into third, clutch in, pull up, let off, and now you're in third. Same concept. Clutch in, shift up, and now I'm in fourth. Now I'm in fourth gear going 25, so I have absolutely no power. It's the same concept if you were driving a car and you were in fifth gear on a manual car going 30 miles an hour. So now when I want to slow down a little bit, shift in, press down, and now I'm in third. Again, I'm in second. On this little rascal, I wouldn't recommend downshifting into first, going anything above 15 miles an hour, or you're going to get quite the jolt. So now I'm in second. I want my RPMs to go a little lower. Now I'm in third. I'm going to signal my turn, downshift into first, come to a complete stop, which I will admit I'm guilty of not doing all the time. They actually teach you in the motorcycle safety course how to do what's called a California stop. Again, signal my turn, lean, shifting into third. You always want to scan the road, left, right, forward, back. So I'm going to go left, right, forward, down. I did that to exaggerate where my eyes are constantly scanning. Always want to have an escape plan too. Think about it. If a car all of a sudden pulls out in front of me here, what's my escape route? Is it to slam on my brakes? Is it to move around? Is it to swerve? You got to have an escape route. Okay, I'm going to avoid turning into the school so a bunch of people don't see me. Okay, so now I'm coming upon a busier road, so I want to make sure I'm in first gear. I want to make sure my feet are down. I look at traffic, nothing's coming. There's a motorcycle rider. I don't know what that was. Okay, I'll take off. There, I shifted into second. Want a little more power, I'm going to roll down on the throttle and shift again. Now I'm in third. It's very, very simple once you get the hang of it. And I will fully recognize it takes a while to get the hang of this. It's like second nature once you do it. But it's such a different concept because you're controlling everything with your right and your left hand. Now I'm pretty good as far as, you know, ambidextrous controls. I like to think I am, actually.
I doubt it.
I type fast, I can play the piano, so I have a pretty good feel, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, between my hands. But that's the basic concepts of shifting and starting off on a motorcycle. So, I know this isn't the complete tutorial, it's a very condensed version, but it is a version that I wanted to post out there for anyone that was interested in how to ride a motorcycle. That is the basics, and you just have to practice until you're comfortable. Okay, until next time, peace.